The first time Elena Volkov saw Mia Lanternelle, it was raining. Not a light, romantic drizzle, but a downpour that turned the city into a blur of wet asphalt and neon reflection, the kind of night that swallowed sound and gave back silence. Elena stepped out of the black car in a tailored suit worth more than the average apartment rent, her boots splashing quietly through shallow puddles as her men flanked her like shadows. She didn't need them to feel powerful. Power was the way the sidewalk cleared without her saying a word. Power was the fear that curled in the air like smoke wherever she went. She was there for a message, not words, not threats. Blood. A rival had overstepped. Elena had come to correct it. She didn't expect the girl. Mia wasn't supposed to be there. She wasn't part of the world Elena ruled with cold calculation. She wasn't on any list, under any surveillance, attached to any name worth knowing. She was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Or maybe the right place, depending on how you looked at it. Elena had just stepped over the body when she saw her. Across the alley, barely shielded by the broken canopy of her small bookstore, Mia stood frozen, keys in hand, eyes wide, her breath fogging in the cold air. Elena raised a hand before any of her men could move. For a moment, they stood in suspended silence, the queen of the criminal underworld and the woman who smelled like ink and worn paper and fear. Mia didn't run. She didn't scream. She blinked once, gripped her keys tighter, and turned slowly to unlock her door, disappearing inside. Elena exhaled. That should have been the end of it. The girl had seen something she shouldn't have. Elena had people for that. Cleaners. Fixers. She could have given the order and been back in her penthouse by midnight, glass of scotch in hand, the city once again quiet beneath her. But she didn't. She stood there longer than necessary, watching the cracked glass of the bookstore door, waiting to see if the girl would look out again. She didn't. But Elena still thought about her all the way back to the car. And she kept thinking about her the next morning. And the day after that. Which is how she found herself parked across the street 2 nights later, watching the bookstore through tinted windows like she was the one being hunted. "You want her gone?" her driver asked. He didn't mean killed. Not yet. Just silenced. Moved. Intimidated. Elena didn't answer. She watched Mia through the window instead. Alone inside the shop, placing books into displays, wiping down shelves, sipping tea from a chipped mug. She looked soft. Safe. Small in a way that had nothing to do with size. Elena had killed men for less than what Mia had seen. But her finger never moved toward the trigger. She stepped out of the car and crossed the street. The bell above the bookstore door chimed. Mia looked up startled. Recognition flickered in her eyes, and for a moment, Elena thought she might scream. But she didn't. She stared. Elena stared back. "Hi," Mia said quietly. "Can I help you?" Elena could lie. She was good at it. But something about this woman made her mouth form different words. "You saw something you shouldn't have." Mia's hand tightened around the counter edge. "I figured. And yet here you are. Still open. Still alive." "Should I be afraid?" "Yes," Elena said. Then, softly, "But I'm not here to hurt you." Mia's brows furrowed. "Then why are you here?" Elena didn't know how to answer that. Not without sounding like a madwoman. Not without admitting that in a single moment, one look, something in her had shifted. She didn't believe in fate, but she believed in impulse. And something about Mia was already under her skin. "Because I don't want to forget you," she said. "And people who see what you did don't usually get to be remembered. They get erased." Mia didn't step back. Didn't flinch. She looked at Elena like she was something wild and fascinating, not terrifying. That sounds like a threat and a compliment at the same time. It is. Elena stepped closer, slow, controlled. "I don't know what I'm going to do about you yet. But I know I can't stop thinking about you. You don't even know me. That's why I'm here." Mia's mouth opened, then closed again. She looked at Elena like she wanted to say something sharp, something final, something that would make this woman walk away and never come back. But she didn't. She said, "I close at 7. Elena nodded once, turned, and left. Outside, the rain had started again. She didn't mind. It covered the sound of her heartbeat, unsteady for the first time in years. Elena didn't return the next day. Or the one after. She told herself she had made a mistake. That stepping into that bookstore had been a lapse in judgment, the kind of emotional indulgence she couldn't afford. But the image of Mia's eyes, wide, cautious, steady, stayed with her, haunting her in the quiet hours when power meant nothing and silence pressed in too tightly. She found herself asking questions. Who was Mia Lanternelle? How did a woman like that survive in this city without being chewed up by it? And why the hell hadn't she screamed that night in the alley? By the fourth day, Elena had an answer. Or rather, she had intel. A thick manila folder sat on her desk, delivered by a loyal lieutenant who didn't ask questions. Inside were photographs, receipts, a quiet life mapped in mundane detail. Mia Lanternelle, age 29. No criminal record. One speeding ticket. Owned a used bookstore on a barely profitable corner of the city. Lived alone in a modest walk-up above the shop. Parents deceased. No siblings. No close ties. No threats. Nothing suspicious. Nothing that explained why Elena couldn't stop thinking about her. She closed the folder and stared at the city skyline through her office window. Thunder rumbled in the distance. Always rain lately. Always noise covering something deeper. She stood, grabbed her coat, and gave no explanation to anyone as she left. Across town, Mia was restocking a shelf of poetry when she felt it, that tingled down her spine, like she was being watched. She turned slowly, and there she was again, Elena, standing just inside the door, coat dripping, hair slightly damp, presence sharp as ever. Mia didn't flinch this time. She straightened, wiped her hands on her apron, and said, "You're 2 hours late." Elena's mouth twitched. "Didn't realize I had a time slot. You said you'd be back after closing. That was 3 days ago. I had things to handle. Dead bodies. Among other things." Mia tilted her head, considering her. "You don't seem like the type who gets distracted." "I'm not." Elena took a slow step forward. "Except with you." Mia's pulse jumped, but she held her ground. "That's not comforting." "It wasn't meant to be." Elena looked around the bookstore. "This place is quiet. That's the point. And lonely. Also the point." Elena stepped closer. "You live upstairs." "That's not a question. It's not a threat either." "Could have fooled me." "I'm not here to hurt you, Mia." "You keep saying that." "Doesn't make it true." "Then why haven't you run?" Mia hesitated. That was the question, wasn't it? She'd had chances, moments to pack a bag, disappear, start over. But she hadn't. Because part of her didn't want to. Because something about Elena made her feel like she'd stepped into a story she hadn't meant to open but couldn't put down. She crossed her arms. Because maybe I want to see what happens next. Elena's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Surprise, maybe, or hunger. "That's dangerous." "I know. I could destroy your life." "Then why haven't you?" Elena stepped closer, just a breath away now. "Because I don't want to." Mia's heart thudded. "Then what do you want?" Elena didn't answer. She looked at Mia like she was trying to memorize her. Every line, every freckle, every quiet defiance etched into her posture. Then, without warning, she turned and walked out. Mia stood there for a long time after the door closed, heart racing, the rain outside louder than before. Upstairs that night, she couldn't sleep, not because of fear, but because of the way Elena had looked at her. Like she was real, like she mattered, like she was something Elena didn't know how to touch without breaking. Days passed. Elena didn't come back, but Mia started to notice things. The man who lingered across the street too long, pretending to fix his bike. The woman in the cafe who never drank her coffee, just stared at the door. At first, Mia thought she was being paranoid. But then the same man reappeared 3 days in a row, and the same woman left exactly when Mia did, always heading in the same direction. Mia waited until the bookstore was empty one afternoon, walked outside, and crossed the street. The man looked up from his phone as she approached. "Tell her I don't need a babysitter," Mia said. "I run a bookstore." Not a drug ring. The man said nothing. Didn't blink. Mia stared him down for another second, then turned and walked away, furious and afraid and confused all at once. That night, she found a note slipped under her door. For words, handwritten in perfect penmanship. You're not invisible here. No name. No signature. But she knew exactly who it was from. And that terrified her more than anything, because it meant Elena was still watching. And she wasn't ready to admit how much she wanted to be seen. Across the city, Elena sat in her office, watching the security feed from the street outside Mia's shop. She watched the moment Mia confronted her shadow. Watched the fire in her eyes, the spine, the quiet fury, and Elena felt something crack inside her. She'd spent her life surrounded by violence, by men who only respected power if it was loud, and feared weakness disguised as mercy. But Mia moved with quiet strength. She didn't need to shout. She didn't need to shoot. And yet, Elena couldn't stop thinking about the curve of her throat, the way her hands moved when she shelved books, the way her voice held steel beneath softness. She stood, grabbed her coat again, and left without a word. This time, she didn't go to the bookstore. She went to the back alley behind it, and waited. Mia didn't see Elena for 3 days. But she felt her. In the weight of the silence behind her. In the way the streetlight flickered outside her bedroom window, just a little too long before shutting off. In the scent of cigar smoke that shouldn't have been there at 3 a.m., seeping through the cracked pane from somewhere below. She woke each morning with her heart beating faster than it should, like her body knew something her mind hadn't accepted yet, that she was being watched not with malice, but with purpose. Elena Volkov hadn't walked away. She was circling, stalking not to hunt, but to possess. And Mia, to her own confusion, didn't bolt her doors tighter. She found herself standing longer in front of the mirror, fixing her hair more carefully before opening the shop, picking the navy sweater that clung tighter to her waist instead of the safe, oversized one. It wasn't vanity. It was preparation. For what? She didn't let herself answer. On the 4th night, she stayed late to rearrange the poetry section, telling herself it had nothing to do with a faint sound of footsteps she sometimes thought she heard behind the building after dark. The shop was closed, the lights dimmed except for a small lamp near the counter, casting a warm pool of gold over the worn wood. She had just placed the last book on the shelf when the sound came, a soft knock. Not at the front, at the back door. Her heart stopped. No one used the back. Not staff. Not customers. Only deliveries, and not at night. She moved toward the rear, slow and quiet, her footsteps silent on the old floorboards. She reached the door and paused. Another knock. Soft. Rhythmic. Familiar. She opened it. Elena stood under the flickering security light, hands in her coat pockets, eyes shadowed but sharp. She looked like a storm pretending to be calm. You didn't scream, Elena said. Again. You didn't knock like a stranger, Mia replied. Again. Elena stepped forward, slowly, until they were just a breath apart in the doorway. Mia didn't move. Elena's eyes drifted over her face, searching, weighing, but not with the cold detachment of someone calculating a risk. This gaze was different. Slower. Focused. As if she was memorizing something for later, something she didn't trust herself to hold. I'm not here to frighten you, Elena said finally. Then what are you here for? To see if you'd still open the door. And, if I hadn't, then I would have waited. All night if I had to. Mia's breath hitched. That's not healthy. I'm not known for my well-adjusted relationships. Is that what this is? Not yet. Elena took one step into the doorway. Mia didn't step back. But it's something, Elena added, voice low. Mia could feel the heat of her now, that impossible pull that should have sent her running the other direction. You don't even know me. I know you sleep with the windows cracked open. I know you eat peaches straight from the can. I know you dog-ear pages in your books and talk to yourself when you think no one's listening. I know you like poems about lost things, and that you smell like honey and ink, and that I haven't stopped thinking about you since the night I should have erased you. Mia's breath stilled in her chest. You shouldn't know any of that. I do. That's not romantic. That's surveillance. Elena smiled faintly. And yet you still opened the door. Mia swallowed. Do you always get what you want? Yes. And if I said I don't want this? I'd leave, Elena said quietly. I'd never touch you without your yes. Mia studied her. And there it was, something beneath the power, beneath the menace and control, vulnerability. It sat quietly in the lines of Elena's mouth, in the set of her shoulders, in the pause before each answer. It was dangerous, how much she wanted to believe her. It was more dangerous how much she already did. Mia stepped aside. Let her in. Elena didn't move fast. She walked like a wild animal invited inside for the first time, aware that any sudden gesture might shatter the spell. She stood near the poetry shelves and said nothing for a long time. Mia closed the door, heart racing. You've been watching me. Yes. Why? Because I don't understand you. What's there to understand? You're not afraid of me. I am, Mia said. But not enough. That made Elena pause. You should be. I know. Mia crossed her arms. But if you wanted me gone, I'd be gone already. So whatever this is, it's not just a threat, is it? Elena's eyes darkened. No, then what is it? Obsession, Elena said without flinching. I've tried to forget you. I can't. I've tried to stay away. I won't. I'm breaking rules I set for myself. And I'm not sorry. The room was too quiet. The air too full. Mia took a step forward, slow. You kill people. Yes. You decide who lives and who dies. Yes. And now you've decided I'll live. Why? Because I want to know what it feels like to have something in my life I didn't take by force. That hit her like a whisper and a wound at once. Mia's chest rose with a sharp breath. And you think that's me? I think I want you to be. A long silence passed between them. Then Mia reached up, took a book from the shelf behind her, one with a cracked spine and soft pages, and handed it to Elena. What's this? Elena asked. Alone, Mia said. If you're going to haunt my life, you might as well start reading. Elena took the book slowly. You trust me not to disappear with it? No. But I think you'll come back. Elena held her gaze. I always do. She left that night without another word, book in hand, and Mia watched her vanish into the dark like a secret. She didn't sleep. Mia tried to pretend her life hadn't changed, that the silence in her bookstore was the same as it had always been, that the coffee still tasted like routine instead of tension, that the wind brushing against the window hadn't started to sound like the slow exhale of someone waiting outside, someone watching, someone who now had a key to something Mia had never given anyone before, not her space, not her body, but her attention, her curiosity, her time, and that was what made it worse, not the fear, but the fact that she wasn't afraid in the way she should be, because even now, when she found the book missing from its shelf and saw the folded piece of paper tucked into its place, her own name written in sharp, slanted letters, she didn't call the police. She didn't scream. She didn't bolt her doors or wipe the windows of fingerprints. She just opened the note with trembling fingers and read what was inside. 3 lines, hand-penned. I finished it. The ending was wrong. I want to know what you'd write instead. And beneath that, nothing else, no signature, just that challenge, that invitation, and it burned in her chest longer than it should have, long enough to make her close the shop early and walk to the edge of the city, to the bridge near the water where she told herself not to go, but where she found herself anyway, because part of her already knew that Elena would be there, leaning against the metal railing like she didn't command an empire from behind. Steel walls, like she didn't carry death in her back pocket, like she hadn't rewritten every rule Mia had ever followed with just a look, and when Elena turned at the sound of her footsteps, there was no surprise in her face, only quiet satisfaction, like this had been inevitable all along, like Mia had only just caught up to her own decision. Mia stopped a few feet away, arms crossed, wind catching her coat, voice tighter than she wanted it to be. You broke into my store, she said. Elena didn't deny it. I left something behind. You left a note. I left the wrong ending. You can't rewrite someone else's story. Then write me a new one, Elena said, stepping closer, not touching, never touching, but close enough that Mia could feel the gravity again, that pull that made her head buzz and her chest ache, because there was no logic in this, none, just a series of irrational moments stacking like dominoes ready to fall, and Mia knew with every nerve in her body that this woman was the edge of something she wouldn't come back from. But she also knew she'd been waiting her whole life to feel. Something this loud in the silence. This isn't a book, Mia whispered. This is real. This is you. It is, Elena said. And I don't know how to be good. I never learned. Then why me? Because you're the only thing I've ever wanted to protect without owning. Mia's breath caught, her throat tightening around a dozen questions she couldn't form, but Elena's eyes didn't leave hers, and in them Mia saw something no one else got to see. Restraint, fury, tenderness, all braided together into a kind of ache that wanted, not to consume her, but to hold her, and it terrified her how badly she wanted to be held by it. You think watching me from the shadows is protection? Mia asked. You think obsession is care? No, Elena said. I think it's the only way I know how to stay close without breaking you. What if I don't break? Mia said, voice lower now, softer, dangerous in a different way. What if I want to be close? Elena didn't move, but her breathing changed. Then I'll stop hiding, she said. And I'll stop pretending this is anything but what it is. And what is it? Mia asked, even though she already knew. Danger, Elena whispered. Want. Need. She stepped forward, now just inches away, her voice barely audible over the rush of wind and water. I think about your hands when I'm alone. I think about what it would feel like to kiss you when you're angry. I think about what it would mean if I let you inside the part of me that no one touches because I'm too afraid of what they'll find there. Mia's pulse roared in her ears. And what would I find? Elena hesitated, the silence between them stretching like a thread pulled taut. Then, finally, a woman who doesn't know how to be loved without violence. Mia exhaled slowly, her voice trembling when she said, Then maybe it's time you learn. The space between them collapsed. Not with a kiss. Not yet. But with something deeper. Elena's hand, hesitant and slow, rose to Mia's cheek, and when Mia didn't flinch, when she leaned into the touch like it was the first soft thing she'd known in months, Elena's composure cracked. Only slightly, but enough. Enough for Mia to see the edge of the woman beneath the myth. They stood like that for minutes, breathing in tandem, eyes locked, and for the first time, Mia wasn't sure who was more dangerous, the woman who could end a life with a whisper, or the one who made her want to live without power. When Elena finally stepped back, her hand lingered for a second longer than necessary, then fell away. I won't come to the store again unless you ask me to, she said. I won't watch unless you want me to be watching. Mia nodded slowly. And if I ask you to come back, then I will. And if I don't? Elena's jaw clenched. Then I'll still want to. Mia took a step back, but her eyes stayed on Elena. Good night, she said, voice rough. Good night, Elena echoed, and didn't move until Mia had disappeared into the night. Alone on the bridge, Elena leaned against the railing, staring down at the dark water, and for the first time in years, she wondered what it would feel like to choose softness over survival, to be known instead of feared, to reach for something not to possess it, but simply to hold it without breaking it. It had been 4 days since the bridge. 4 days since Elena had touched her, and then promised not to come back unless asked, and Mia had not asked. Not out loud. Not with words. But she felt her absence like an echo inside her skin, an ache beneath her ribs that hummed when the street was too quiet, when the shop was too still, when the routine she had once loved felt like it no longer belonged to her. She opened the bookstore every morning and closed it every night, pretending to care about inventory and shelving and the smell of old pages, but she caught herself glancing at the door every time the bell rang, half expecting Elena to appear even though she had told her not to. Mia didn't know what was worse, that she was waiting, or that part of her hoped Elena was breaking her own rule. But Elena didn't come. Not until Mia broke first. On the 5th night, The silence became unbearable. She sat behind the counter with a poetry book open on her lap and stared at the same line for over an hour, reading the same words again and again until they meant nothing, until they blurred into shapes and curves and breath. The bell above the door had not rung once that afternoon. She was alone. She had been alone all day. So when she stood and walked to the back of the shop, when she opened the small door that led to the alley without any real reason, she told herself it was just to take out the trash, just to get air, just to stretch her legs, but she knew. She knew exactly who she was hoping to find. And when she stepped into the cool night and saw Elena leaning against the brick wall, arms crossed, head tilted as if she'd been waiting for hours, Mia didn't speak. Neither did Elena. They just stared at each other across the alley, beneath the dim light, with the quiet hum of the city vibrating between them like tension pulled taut. Mia's voice was barely a whisper when it came. "I didn't call you." "I know," Elena said. "But I needed to see you. I told you not to come back unless I asked." "You didn't say it like you meant it." Mia stepped closer. "And what if I had? Then I would have still come." Mia's breath caught. "That's not fair." "I'm not fair," Elena said, eyes dark, voice low. "You knew that the moment I touched you." Mia took another step, close enough now to see the edge of weariness in Elena's face, the fine line between control and collapse. "What are we doing?" she asked. Elena looked at her for a long moment before answering. "Losing control." The words struck deep, not because they were unexpected, but because they were true. Mia had always been grounded, always known where she stood, what she wanted, how to keep her world small and safe. But nothing about Elena was small or safe, and now there was no going back. "You haven't slept," Mia said quietly. "Neither have you," Elena replied. "You look tired. You look haunted." Elena's lips quirked, a shadow of a smile. "I've always been haunted. Maybe it's time you let someone chase the ghosts away." "You think that's you?" "I think I'm the only one you've let get close enough to try." Elena stepped forward then, slowly, deliberately, until there was no space left between them, until the alley disappeared, and all Mia could see was the fire behind Elena's eyes, that dangerous, magnetic pull that made her feel like she was standing at the edge of something that could change everything. Elena raised a hand, letting her fingers hover near Mia's cheek but not touching, waiting, asking without words. Mia closed her eyes and leaned in. That was all the permission Elena needed. The touch was electric. Gentle at first, the pad of Elena's thumb tracing the curve of Mia's cheek like she was memorizing her by feel. Then her other hand came to rest lightly on Mia's waist, and Mia's breath hitched, her body leaning instinctively into the contact, into the heat of it. She didn't pull away. She didn't speak. She let Elena touch her like she was something sacred, like violence had no place in that moment, like her skin had never known anything but reverence. And then Elena kissed her. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't rough. It was a question disguised as a kiss, a confession without words, and when Mia answered, when she kissed her back, it was with everything she had been holding in since that night in the alley. Elena's mouth was soft but insistent, her hand sliding up to cradle the back of Mia's neck, her body pressing closer, and Mia melted into her like she had been waiting for this her entire life, without knowing it. They kissed like they were unraveling, like every second apart had built to this collision. And when Elena finally pulled back, breathing hard, eyes burning, Mia didn't let her go. "You shouldn't be here," Mia whispered against her lips. "Then tell me to leave," Elena said. Mia didn't. Instead, she kissed her again, slower this time, and it wasn't about control or dominance, it was about need. When they parted again, Elena rested her forehead against Mia's, eyes closed, like she was steadying herself. "You're not safe with me," she said. "I know. I'm not done hurting people. I know. They'll come after you. Then let them." Elena pulled back, just enough to look at her, and there was something unspoken in that gaze, something raw and honest and terrified. "You don't understand what you're offering." "Maybe not," Mia said. "But I'm tired of being untouched." Elena brushed a strand of hair behind Mia's ear. "I don't know how to be soft." "Then let me teach you." The alley disappeared. The city disappeared. It was just them, caught in the space between fear and desire, between silence and the kind of truth that could destroy them both. And for the first time in Elena's life, she let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to be alone. Mia woke to the scent of leather and danger. Not literal danger, not the sharp smell of blood or smoke, but something more subtle, more seductive. The weight of someone watching her, breathing close, tethered to the room even in absence. She turned in bed, her sheets tangled, and saw the book Elena had borrowed lying on her nightstand, returned without a word. No note this time, no knock at the door, just presence. She hadn't heard her come in. That, more than anything, told Mia she was already too deep, because part of her liked it. The quiet ways Elena slipped into her world, not with force, but with inevitability. The memory of Elena's mouth still burned on hers. The way she'd kissed her in the alley had unraveled something so tightly wound that Mia hadn't even known she'd been holding it. Now she felt everything, skin hypersensitive, mind restless, breath catching at the smallest things, footsteps on the stairs, the shadow of a car across the window, a low voice that reminded her of Elena's when she was close enough to whisper. She tried to work. She shelved books, cleaned the counter, straightened displays, but the world no longer moved the way it used to. Something inside her had shifted. And that night, when she climbed the stairs to her apartment above the shop, she found Elena sitting on the windowsill like she'd been carved from shadow and silk. Mia didn't flinch. She didn't even pretend to be startled. She just closed the door behind her and leaned against it, crossing her arms. "You know this isn't normal," she said. Elena turned her head slightly, moonlight catching on the line of her jaw. "Neither are we." "Is that supposed to comfort me?"
No.
"It's just true." "How long have you been here?" "Long enough to watch you talk to yourself about where to shelve Neruda." "That's private." "You left the blinds open." "You make me feel like I should be afraid." Elena stood then, slowly, with the kind of grace that made predators look clumsy. "I know." She stepped closer. "But you're not, are you?" "Not the way I should be." "That's because you know I wouldn't hurt you." "Do I?" Elena's gaze darkened. "If you don't, I should leave." Mia's breath caught in her throat. "But you won't." "No," Elena said, voice low. "Because I want to be near you more than I want to be safe for myself." That admission settled in the room like thunder. Mia moved without thinking, closing the space between them until they were inches apart. "Are you always like this?" she asked. "Obsessive? Reckless?
Cold.
Calculated? Until you..." Mia reached up and touched Elena's face, fingers tracing the sharp line of her cheek. "You're unraveling." "I know. So am I." Elena leaned in, their foreheads touching, breath shared. "Then let's unravel together." This time when they kissed, it wasn't careful. It wasn't slow. It was hunger and permission and collapse. Elena's hands gripped Mia's waist, pulling her close, and Mia clung to her like an anchor in a storm. They kissed like the world was ending, fierce and desperate, and full of unspoken things that neither of them knew how to say out loud. When they finally broke apart, breathless and dazed, Elena rested her head against Mia's shoulder. "I don't want to go back to who I was before you," she said. "Then don't," Mia whispered. "Stay. You don't understand what that means." "Then show me." Elena pulled back, searching her face. "They'll come for me, and they'll use you to get to me."
Who?
"The people I've crossed. The ones who hate me. The ones I used to work with or work against." "You think I'm not worth the risk?" "I think you're the only thing worth the risk." That silenced Mia. Not because she didn't believe it, but because she did. She took Elena's hand, led her to the couch, and sat beside her in the dark. They didn't speak for a long time. Just breathed. Just existed. And when Mia leaned her head on Elena's shoulder, the other woman wrapped an arm around her like it was the most natural thing in the world. But outside, the city wasn't still. In a dark room across town, a man watched a screen. Elena's face flickered into view, grainy, but unmistakable. A photo was printed. A name scribbled across the bottom. Mia Lanternelle. Underlined twice. circled, watched. The next morning, Elena left before sunrise. Mia didn't ask where she was going.
She didn't need to.
She just watched her dress in silence, taking in every line of her, the sharp elegance of her movement, the quiet violence of her presence. Elena turned at the door. Lock it behind me. You act like someone's already coming. Someone always is. And then she was gone. The apartment felt too big without her. Too cold. Mia tried to busy herself, but her thoughts spiraled. Who was watching? What had Elena done to earn this many enemies? Was she safe? Was Mia safe? And then, that afternoon, a man entered the bookstore. He was polite, handsome in a forgettable way. He asked about rare editions, smiled too much, touched the spines of books without looking at them. Mia felt it in her gut. This wasn't a customer. She asked if he needed help. He asked if she was alone. She smiled and said yes, and something in his eyes changed. Predatory. Familiar. She forced herself to stay calm, showed him to the back, pretended not to watch his hands.
He didn't buy anything.
Didn't leave a name. Just smiled and walked out. An hour later, the phone rang. She answered. A voice she didn't recognize. You've made an enemy, it said. Or maybe your girlfriend has.
Click.
The line went dead. Mia's hands shook. She locked the door. Closed early.
Paste.
Her world wasn't quiet anymore. It wasn't safe. But when Elena returned that night, furious and silent and barely holding herself together, Mia didn't yell. She didn't demand explanations. She opened the door and let her in. And Elena, for the first time, looked afraid. Mia had never known silence could carry weight until it filled the space between her and Elena like smoke. Thick, suffocating, unspoken. After the call, after the man in the bookstore, after Elena returned with blood under her fingernails and fury carved into the tension of her jaw, everything changed. Not instantly, not loudly, but like a shifting fault line beneath the surface of their fragile world. Elena didn't explain where she had been. She didn't say who had followed Mia or who had dared to threaten her. She simply stood in the doorway, eyes scanning Mia like she was checking for bruises or breaks, and when she found none, she closed the door behind her and locked it with 2 clicks that sounded like finality. Mia wanted to demand answers. She wanted to yell, to scream, to claw at whatever wall Elena was putting up between them, but instead, she walked to her, slow and deliberate, and touched her face with fingers that trembled, not with fear, but with the unbearable pressure of everything they weren't saying. You're shaking, Elena murmured, her voice low and ragged. So are you, Mia whispered back. Who was he? Elena exhaled, a sound between frustration and restraint. Someone who doesn't deserve to live. He won't bother you again. That's not what I ask, but it's all I'm giving. You can't shut me out. Not now. Not after everything. I'm not shutting you out. I'm trying to keep you alive. By keeping me in the dark? By not letting you become a target. Too late for that, Mia said bitterly. They already know my name. Elena flinched. Just slightly. But it was enough. Mia stepped back, anger rising in her chest like smoke after a spark. You said you wouldn't let them get near me. And I didn't. Then how the hell did he know who I was? How did he walk into my store and ask if I was alone? Elena's silence was a confession. Mia's voice broke. You're losing control, aren't you? That did it. Elena turned away, shoulders tight, jaw clenched, like the words had cut deeper than any blade. Yes, she said finally. I'm losing control. Because of you. That's not an answer. It's the only truth I have right now. Then give me the rest of it, Mia said, stepping forward again. Tell me who wants to hurt you. Tell me who's coming. Elena didn't turn around. Her voice came low and cold. Everyone. That stopped Mia. For a moment, all she could hear was her heartbeat, loud in her ears, fast and sharp. You've built your entire life on fear, she said. And now it's turning on you. Elena finally looked at her, and her eyes, God, her eyes, were filled with something that made Mia's breath catch. Not anger, not dominance, but desperation. They think you're my weakness, Elena said. They're not wrong. Then let me be strong for you, Mia said. Stop protecting me like I'm breakable. Let me stand with you. Elena stepped forward, fast and close, and grabbed her face with both hands, not roughly, but with an urgency that made Mia's knees go weak. I don't know how to be soft in war, she said. Then teach me how to fight, Mia whispered. Or let me teach you how to survive without burning everything down. Elena kissed her. Not gently.
Not sweetly.
It was a kiss of frustration, of fear, of raw need barely held in check. And Mia kissed her back like it was the only language left between them. When they broke apart, breathless, Elena rested her forehead against Mia's.
They're circling, she said.
Old allies. Rival families.
People who want what I have.
And now they think they've found my pressure point. Me. Yes. Then you need to show them they're wrong.
How?
Don't run.
Don't hide me.
Make me visible. Make me untouchable. Elena pulled back, eyes wide. You want to be seen? I want to survive. And I don't want to do it in your shadow. They'll come for you harder.
Then let them, Mia said.
I'd rather face them than live like a ghost in your life. Silence again. Heavy. Loaded. Elena studied her for a long moment, then finally nodded. I need to bring you somewhere. Where? Somewhere no one's supposed to go unless they wear my name in blood. And you think I'm ready for that? I think you've already bled for me in your own way. She didn't explain. She just led Mia outside, down the quiet street, into a car that smelled like leather and gun oil, driven by a man who didn't look at Mia once. They drove for nearly an hour, past the lights of the city, past the places Mia knew, into a district that pulsed with wealth and silence. When the car finally stopped in front of a gated building, Elena got out first, her hand brushing Mia's back with a touch that was almost apologetic. Inside, everything was stone and glass and silence. No names. No guards visible. But Mia could feel eyes on her. Watching. Measuring. Judging. Elena led her down a long hallway to a door she opened with her thumbprint. Inside was a room that didn't look like power. It looked like solitude. A massive desk. A map of the city etched in steel on one wall. No pictures. No warmth. Elena turned to her. This is where I built my empire, she said. And where it will fall if I don't play this next move perfectly. Then let me help. I don't need help. Everyone needs help. Not me. Especially you. Elena looked at her, and something cracked. Just for a second. She crossed the room, stood in front of Mia, and said, If I let you stay in this, if I don't walk away now, there's no undoing it. I don't want it undone. Even if it gets you killed? Especially then, Mia said. Because at least I'll have chosen it. Chosen you. Elena closed her eyes. When she opened them, there was fire. Then stay close. And don't look away. I won't. That night, Mia slept in the fortress. In Elena's bed. Not as a guest. Not as a prisoner. But as someone who had chosen to walk into the fire. And Elena, for the first time in her life, allowed someone to sleep beside her without a knife under the pillow. The morning after Mia slept beside Elena in the heart of the Volkov Empire, the world didn't feel softer. It felt sharpened, like everything around her had edges she hadn't seen before. The room was still, but the silence wasn't peaceful, it was expectant. Elena hadn't woken her. The bed beside Mia was empty when she opened her eyes, and the faint hum of voices outside the heavy steel door reminded her that the woman she'd fallen asleep beside was not just a lover or a protector. She was a leader, a queen in a kingdom built on blood. Mia dressed slowly, pulling her hair back, steadying her breath. She hadn't expected to feel this calm. The nerves were there, yes, curling in her stomach like smoke, but beneath them was something else. Resolve. She had chosen this. Chosen Elena. And now, she had to see it through. She opened the door and stepped into a hallway that buzzed with low voices and glances that cut sideways when they saw her. Men in suits. Women with scars. Everyone looked like they knew how to kill someone without blinking. Mia walked through them with her chin high and her spine straight, because if she faltered now, she would never be taken seriously. At the end of the corridor, she found Elena in a room filled with maps and screens and silence. She stood at the center of it all, arms crossed, eyes pinned to a red, blinking on the map. She didn't turn when Mia entered. "Did you sleep?" Mia asked, her voice soft. Elena's jaw tightened. "Not really." "What happened?" "They moved."
Who?
"Mikhail's people. They crossed into one of our territories last night." Mia walked closer, slowly.
Why?
"Because I hesitated." Elena turned now, her eyes hard. "Because they saw you. Because they think you're leverage." "Then they're wrong." "Are they?" Elena stepped closer. "Because I would burn this entire city to keep you safe, Mia. I would end families. Start wars. Break every rule I ever wrote." "Then don't," Mia said. "Don't start a war for me. Let me help you win it without blood." Elena laughed. Not bitter, but tired. "You still believe there's a clean way through this?"
No, Mia said.
"But I believe in us more than I believe in fear." Elena studied her. Then, slowly, she lifted a small case from the table and handed it to her. Mia opened it. A gun. Black.
Sleek. Heavy.
Her breath hitched. "I'm not a soldier." "No," Elena said. "But you're mine. And I need you alive. I don't know how to use this." "I'll teach you." "Elena, please." The word wasn't a command. It was almost a plea. Mia nodded. She didn't ask questions. She let Elena guide her hand, let her wrap her fingers around the grip, show her how to stand, how to breathe, how to aim. They didn't fire. Not yet. Just held the weight of violence between them. Later that day, Elena took Mia to a warehouse at the edge of the city. Inside were stacks of crates, quiet figures, hushed voices. Mia felt eyes on her again, but Elena never left her side. "This is the first place I ever made a deal," Elena said. "I was 17. And now I own everything within a 10-block radius." Mia turned to her. "And what about outside that radius?" Elena's face darkened. "That's where they wait." That night, they returned to the fortress. But the calm didn't last. At 2:47 a.m., the alarms went off. Screaming sirens. Blinking lights. Mia sat up in bed, heart pounding. Elena was already on her feet, grabbing a weapon from beneath the mattress. "Stay here," she barked. "No, Mia, you brought me into this. I'm not hiding." Elena looked at her, torn between fury and fear. Then she nodded. "Stay close to me." They moved through the corridors like shadows, Elena's men ahead of them, guns drawn. "Breach on the west wall," someone called. One vehicle. 3 men. Elena's voice was steel. "Alive." One captured. 2 ran. Mia's hands trembled. Elena reached for her, squeezing her fingers. "It's okay. We've got them." "Are they with Mikhail?" "One way to find out." She turned to the man in restraints. A young man. Blood on his face. Fear in his eyes. "Who sent you?" Elena asked. Silence. "Who sent you?" she repeated. "I'll ask once more before I stop being polite." The man looked at Mia. Then at Elena. "She's why he's coming," he said. "He wants her."
Not you.
Elena didn't flinch. But something inside her shifted. "He thinks I won't kill for her." "Would you?" the man whispered. Elena drew her gun. "Try me." Mia stepped forward. "No," Elena turned, shocked.
What?
"You said no more unnecessary blood." "This is necessary." "Not if he talks." She knelt, looked the man in the eyes. "Tell us everything, or she pulls the trigger. You've got one chance." The man cracked. Words spilled.
Names.
Locations. Plans. Mia stood. Now he's useful. Elena stared at her. "You're not who I thought you were." "Neither are you." That night, Elena didn't leave her side. They didn't talk. Didn't sleep. They held each other on the bed in silence, the gun resting on the nightstand like a final truth. And Mia realized something terrifying. She wasn't afraid anymore. Elena wasn't used to silence that felt like punishment. She had grown up in silence, had weaponized it, learned to make it a shield and a blade. But now, walking through the corridors of her fortress with Mia 3 steps behind her and not saying a word, the silence pressed down on her like guilt. Not fear, not regret, but guilt. Because even though they'd survived the breach, even though the man had talked and the immediate threat had been contained, Elena knew something had changed in Mia's eyes. It wasn't that the bookstore girl had hardened. It was that she'd adapted, learned too fast, stood too steady in the face of danger. And that terrified Elena in a way bullets never had. She hated this. Hated how much she wanted to pull Mia into her arms and beg her to leave, to run, to forget her, even as every cell in her body screamed not to let go. They reached the war room. The screens glowed with maps and messages. Dmitri stood near the center, frowning at a monitor, his expression grimmer than usual. "What is it?" Elena asked. Mikhail made his move. "Where?" "Not here. Not us." He hesitated. "He hit your father's house." The air left the room. Mia froze. Elena's hands curled into fists. "What?" "He didn't go for you. He went for your bloodline." "How many?" "5 men dead. Your father's in the hospital. Critical." Elena said nothing. The room stood still. "I'll have the car ready," Dmitri began. "No," Elena's voice was steel. "He made this personal." "It already was. Not like this." Mia stepped forward. "Elena." Elena turned to her, and Mia saw something she hadn't before. Grief. Raw and unfiltered. "You never talk about him," Mia said. "Because he's the one man I've always failed." "Then let's go to him."
Mia.
"You can't shut me out now." "I'm not afraid." "You should be," Elena whispered. "Because I don't know how to be this woman in front of you and still be the one who keeps you alive." "Then be both." Elena closed her eyes just for a second, then nodded. The hospital was under lockdown. Elena didn't wait for permission. Her name opened doors, cleared hallways. Mia walked beside her, trying to hold her composure even as every nurse and guard looked at them like a storm had just entered the building. They reached the ICU. Elena stepped inside alone. Mia waited. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. She didn't move. Finally, Elena returned. Her eyes red. Her expression unreadable. "He's not going to make it," she said. "I haven't spoken to him in 3 years, and now I don't get to say goodbye." Mia touched her arm gently. "I'm sorry. Don't be. He taught me everything I know about power.
About war.
About never showing weakness. And now..." Elena's eyes met hers. "Now I want to burn every rule he gave me." Mia took her hand. "Then do it. With me." Elena didn't respond, but her grip tightened. That night, Elena didn't speak. She paced. She brooded. She drank something dark and strong without flinching. Mia watched her from the couch, heart aching. This wasn't just grief. It was transformation. The world was tilting, and Elena didn't know where she would land. Mia stood and crossed the room. "Let me in." "I can't."
Why?
"Because the next time they come for you, I might not get there in time. Then teach me how to stand without you." "I don't want you to be without me." "Then stop pushing me away." Elena stepped forward, and her hands were trembling when she cupped Mia's face. "If I lose you, Mia, you won't. I've lost everyone else. Not this time." Elena kissed her like she was drowning. Like Mia was oxygen. Like survival was a person, not a plan. They didn't make it to the bedroom. Clothes were lost in the hallway. Mia let Elena touch her like she was memorizing every part of her body before it vanished. And Mia held her like she was trying to anchor her to the earth. It was not just physical. It was claiming. It was surrender. It was war and truce in the same breath. And when it was over, when Elena lay beside her in the dark, her breath unsteady, her body undone, Mia whispered, "You're not alone anymore." And Elena, for the first time in years, believed it. The next day, everything went wrong. The plan had been simple. Hit one of Mikhail's warehouses, cut off a supply line, send a message. Elena was not the type to make mistakes. But someone had tipped them off. The building was empty, except for one thing. A photo.
Mia.
In the bookstore. Laughing. A red circle around her head. Elena stared at it, heart pounding. Underneath, one sentence. You chose wrong. She called Mia. No answer. Called again. Nothing. Called Dmitri. Get to her.
Now.
On it. I'm coming too. No, if this is a trap, then I walk into it. Elena didn't wait. She was in the car in minutes, speeding through the city like every second was a countdown. Her mind raced. Her chest ached. This wasn't just fear. This was terror. A feeling she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. She reached the bookstore. The front door was open. Lights off. Mia, she called. No answer. She drew her weapon, entered slowly. Silence. Shelves undisturbed. Nothing broken. But something was off. Too quiet. She turned the corner and saw it.
Blood.
Not much. Just a smear on the floor.
A sign.
And then Mia's voice.
Quiet.
Behind her. Don't move. Elena froze. Turned slowly. Mia stood there, bruised but alive. Gun in hand. Where did you get that? Elena asked, barely breathing. From your room. Just in case. Are you hurt? They tried to grab me. I ran. Hid. One of them caught me, but I got away. Elena stepped forward. Are you okay? No, Mia's hands were shaking. But I'm still here. Elena pulled her into a hug, fierce and unyielding. You could have died. So could you. This ends now. What are you going to do? Elena pulled back. Her eyes were colder than Mia had ever seen them. I'm going to end Mikhail. And then what? Then I bring you somewhere safe. There's no such place anymore, Elena. Then I make one. There was blood on Elena's shirt, and she didn't know whose it was. It didn't matter. The moment she pulled Mia into the car and locked the door, the world narrowed to the sound of Mia's breath, the rapid thudding of her heart, the weight of her survival. Mia sat beside her, silent, pale, clutching the gun Elena had taught her to hold just days ago, and it looked wrong in her hands, but not unfamiliar anymore. That terrified Elena more than anything. Say something, Mia whispered finally, voice cracking. Elena gripped the steering wheel, jaw tight. I should have killed him when I had the chance. You couldn't have known he'd come after me. I should have known. I always know. Elena, don't offend me.
Not now.
Mia looked at her, eyes glassy. Then talk to me like I'm not glass. You're not glass, Elena snapped, turning to her. You're fire I didn't plan for, and now I can't put it out without burning everything else with it. So let it burn, Mia said. Let it all burn if it means we get to keep each other. Elena leaned back in the seat, eyes closed, breathing hard. I never wanted to feel like this. Not again. Like what? Like someone else's life matters more than mine. Silence. Heavy and full. Mia reached for her hand. You said you'd show me everything. That means this too. This isn't a lesson, Mia. This is war. Then teach me how to survive it with you. You already are. They drove in silence to the fortress. When they arrived, Dmitri was waiting with a map spread across the table, red markers flashing like veins across the city.
He's spread thin, he said.
Hit 3 of our sites last week. He's losing men. Elena's voice was flat. He's desperate. That makes him dangerous. He left a message. What kind? Dmitri slid a photo across the table. Elena's chest tightened. It was Mia. Again. Taken that morning. From across the street. Mia paled.
How?
He's in the city. Elena picked up the photo, hands steady. Then he dies in it. The plan was simple. Lure him to neutral ground. Isolate him. No guards. No backup. Just Elena and a bullet. Mia didn't like it. It's a trap, she said. He wants to see you coming. Good, Elena replied. Because he won't see what's coming with me. Mia stepped in front of her. And if you don't come back? Elena stared at her. Then you make sure no one forgets my name. Don't do that. Do what? Say goodbye like you've already decided you're not surviving this. Elena cupped her face, fingers trembling. Because I haven't decided. That's what makes it dangerous. Mia kissed her. Fiercely, desperately.
Like it might be the last time.
When they pulled apart, Mia whispered, "Come back to me." Elena rested her forehead against hers. Always. The warehouse was empty. Just as planned. Elena waited. Gun holstered. Heart steady. She had spent her whole life preparing for moments like this. But not with someone waiting for her at home. That changed everything. Footsteps. Slow. Confident. Then Mikhail stepped into the light.
Tall. Cold.
Smile like poison. I expected guards, he said. I expected someone more interesting, Elena replied. You brought nothing. I brought everything I need. You're losing. You're in love. Elena didn't blink. So. That's how you fall. That's how all of you fall. The moment someone else matters more than the game, the board breaks. Then let's break it. She drew her gun.
Fast. Clean.
But Mikhail was faster. He didn't shoot. He threw something. A flash.
A sound.
Disorientation. Elena stumbled back, blinking. And then pain. A crack to her jaw. She hit the ground. Her gun skidded. Mikhail stood over her. You were always too soft. Elena spit blood. Says the man who hides behind shadows. Says the woman who brought a civilian into a war. His foot came down hard. Elena rolled, barely avoiding it. She grabbed a shard of metal, slashed it across his leg. He screamed.
Staggered.
She lunged.
Fists.
Elbows.
Knees. Dirty.
Brutal. No elegance. Just rage. She got him on the ground. Straddled his chest. Pressed the shard to his throat. One word, she whispered. And I end you. Mikhail's grin was bloody. She'll be next. If not me, someone else. You can't protect her forever. Watch me. And then Mia's voice. Elena. Elena turned, heart seizing. Mia stood in the doorway, breathless, gun in hand. What are you doing here? Elena shouted. I followed you. You shouldn't be here. And you shouldn't be alone. Mikhail laughed. Elena pressed the shard deeper.
Mia. Leave. Now.
No, please. No, Mikhail turned to her. So this is her. Elena snapped. The shard cut deep. Mikhail choked. Mia ran to her, pulled her back. It's done. Elena was breathing hard, shaking, covered in blood. Mikhail groaned. Not dead, but close. Let's go, Mia said. Before more come. Elena nodded, dazed. They left him there.
Alive. Defeated.
But not buried. Back at the fortress, Elena collapsed onto the couch. Mia cleaned her hands. Her wounds. Silent. Careful. Then she sat beside her, took her face in her hands. Look at me, she whispered. Elena did. You're here. You came back. I told you I would. You didn't kill him. No, why? Because you stopped me. Would you have? Yes. Then thank you for not. Elena buried her face in Mia's neck. I'm tired. I know. I don't want to lose you. Then stop trying to save me from you. I don't know how to love gently. Then don't. Just love me real. And so Elena did. That night, their bodies spoke the truths their mouths couldn't carry. Every touch was a promise. Every gasp a vow. And when Elena fell asleep, wrapped around Mia like a prayer, she dreamed not of blood, but of quiet. And in that dream, she finally understood what it meant to fight for something without destroying it. The fortress had never been quiet like this. Not even in the dead of night. The silence wasn't calm, it was waiting. Mia stood in the dim hallway outside Elena's room, barefoot, wearing one of Elena's shirts that hung off her shoulders like it didn't know what to do with softness. Her hand hovered over the door, fingers twitching, her pulse a metronome of anxiety. On the other side of the door, Elena slept.
Or tried to.
Mia had left her there hours ago after the shower, after cleaning the blood from her arms and knuckles, after watching Elena's eyes lose their fire and gain something far more dangerous: doubt. Now, standing outside that door, Mia felt it too. The weight of not knowing what came next. Mikhail was still out there.
Alive.
Maybe plotting. Maybe bleeding out. Elena hadn't said a word since returning. She'd just let Mia hold her, kiss her, put her to bed like she wasn't the most feared woman in the city. Mia opened the door. The room was dark, lit only by the faint blue glow of the city leaking in through the window. Elena was sitting on the edge of the bed, back to the door, robe loose around her shoulders. She didn't turn. Couldn't sleep? Mia asked. Elena didn't move. Neither could I, Mia continued, walking closer. You're not used to being still, are you? Stillness is death in my world. Mia stopped behind her. Then, why does it feel like you're already halfway gone? That made Elena turn. Her eyes were glassy, not from tears. Elena didn't cry, but from the sheer weight of holding everything in. Because I lost control, she whispered. You're alive. For now. That's all any of us get. Elena stood.
Slowly.
Walked to the window. Mikhail was never the real threat. What do you mean? He's a symptom. The disease is inside. My own men are questioning me. They think I'm soft. They think you made me weak. And did I? Mia asked, stepping forward. Make you weak? Elena turned to her.
No.
You made me feel. And that makes them afraid. Because they don't understand it. Because they want to use it. Then let them try. It's not that simple. It never is. Elena stepped closer, close enough that Mia could feel her breath. If they turn on me, then we deal with it together. I don't want you near that. Too late. Mia reached for her hand. You said I wasn't breakable. So stop treating me like I am. Elena squeezed her fingers. Tomorrow I meet with the council. If they doubt me, then prove them wrong. And if they vote to remove me, then I burn the building down myself, Mia said. And you walk out of the ashes with me. Elena's mouth curved. The faintest smile. God, I love you. Mia's heart stuttered. Say that again. I love you, Elena repeated, voice rough, raw, like it cost her something and gave her everything at once. I love you, and I don't know how to survive it. Then don't survive it. Live it. Elena kissed her like she was already drowning and Mia was air. That night, they didn't make love like the world was ending. They made love like the world had just begun.
Slow. Reverent.
Elena touched her like Mia was a secret no one else would ever learn. And when they finally fell asleep, tangled in each other, the silence outside the room was no longer waiting. It was watching. Because not everyone in Elena's world believed she should still wear the crown. The council room was cold. Stone walls. Steel table. 5 chairs occupied by people Elena had known since she was a teenager. Loyal, once. Ruthless, always. Mia stood just outside the door, forbidden to enter. She paced. Waited. Listened. Inside, Elena stood tall, dressed in black, her face unreadable. You've been distracted, one of them said. You've been bleeding, another added. You let Mikhail live, a third accused. He's not the threat, Elena said calmly. Then who is? Anyone who doubts my control. They glanced at each other. Shifted. One of them, older, leaned forward. And the girl? Is not your concern. She's the reason this started. She's the reason I haven't burned this entire city to the ground. So, you admit she's changed you? Elena's voice was steel.
Yes.
She reminded me what I'm fighting for. And if we say she's a liability, then I say you're already planning to betray me. The silence that followed was deafening. Then we vote. Elena stood motionless as 5 hands moved. 3 for her, 2 against. She didn't blink. Then we're done here. But she knew. That vote wasn't the end. It was the beginning. That night, Mia found a note under her pillow. No signature. Just 4 words. She makes you weak. Mia stared at it, hands trembling. She didn't tell Elena.
Not yet.
She burned the note in the sink, watched the flame consume it. But the words stayed, etched into the air, into her skin. Elena was in danger. Not just from enemies outside, but from inside. From the people who smiled in meetings and sharpened knives behind closed doors. Mia knew what she had to do. She had to become something more than Elena's lover. She had to become her equal, even if that meant losing a part of herself in the process. Mia didn't sleep. Not really. She lay beside Elena, her body warm and still, the slow rhythm of her breath like a lullaby against Mia's back, and yet her eyes remained open, staring at the shadows crawling along the ceiling. The note had changed everything. She makes you weak. For words, but they echoed louder than any gunshot. Mia had seen the truth in the council's eyes during the meeting, even from the hallway. She had felt it in the silence, in the way no one met her gaze when Elena walked past. They weren't loyal. Not anymore. They were watching, measuring, waiting for Elena to slip. And Mia knew they would use her to make that happen. She turned slowly, facing Elena in the dark. Her face was relaxed in sleep, younger somehow, softer, like the weight of her empire lifted when she let herself rest. Mia reached out, gently tracing a fingertip down her arm. "I won't let them take you from me," she whispered. "Not the council. Not the city. Not even Elena herself." By morning, Mia had made a decision. While Elena dealt with damage control, meeting contacts, securing loyalty, hunting any last threads of Mikhail's network, Mia slipped out of the fortress alone for the first time. Dmitri tried to stop her. "She won't like this," he warned. "I'm not doing it for her approval," Mia said. "I'm doing it for her survival. She doesn't need a bodyguard. She needs a queen who knows when to stay out of the fire."
"She is one," Mia replied.
"Now get out of my way." He hesitated, then stepped aside. "You're braver than I thought."
"No.
I'm just in love with the woman they're planning to destroy." Mia left the fortress and went to the docks, one of the last neutral zones in Elena's domain. She met with someone Elena would never have trusted, Elia Costa, a fixer from the old families. Not loyal to Mikhail, not loyal to Elena, but loyal to balance. Mia found her sitting in a cafe near the edge of the pier, watching gulls circle the water with dead eyes. "You're bold," Elia said, without looking up. "You're the first person from that side to sit at my table in years." "Then let's not waste time," Mia replied, sitting. "They're turning on her." "We know." "You knew." "Everyone knows." "Elena's slipping." "That's how they see it. Emotion is rot in their world." "You're rot." "Then you understand why I'm here." Elia finally looked at her. "You want to cut the infection before it spreads. I want to take their knives before they use them. So what's the trade? Information. Leverage. Names. You have none of those. But I have her trust." Elia smiled. "Dangerous currency. It's the only one that still matters." They talked. Quiet. Measured. Mia learned which members of the council were already communicating with Mikhail in secret. She learned who was arming them, who was setting the trap. She left with a list. 3 names. All powerful. All close. All deadly. She returned hours later. Elena was in the main hall, mid-conversation with 2 of her lieutenants. When she saw Mia, her expression shifted. Relief, frustration, fear. She dismissed the men with a glance and crossed the room. "Where the hell have you been?" "Gathering information." "Alone?" "Yes." "Mia, I know what I'm doing." "No, you don't," Elena snapped. "You think this is a game? That just because you love me, you can play at war?" "I'm not playing." Mia stepped closer. "You said they were turning." "I found out who." She handed Elena the list. Elena took it. "Read it." Froze. "These are high-ranking members. And they're betraying you." "How do you know this?" "I went to Elia Costa." Elena stared at her. "You what?" "She doesn't want Mikhail in power. She wants stability. That means you." "I gave her nothing in return." "You shouldn't have gone near her." "I had to." "You could have been killed." "So could you every day." "That's not a reason to do nothing." Elena threw the list onto the table. You can't just walk into the fire and assume I'll always pull you out. Then teach me how to survive the flames.
They were close now.
Breathing the same air. Faces tight with emotion. You said I was your equal, Mia whispered. Then stop treating me like a liability. You're not, Elena said, her voice cracking. You're the only thing that makes me human. Then let me help you be something more. Elena reached for her. They kissed, but this wasn't passion. It was a silent scream, a desperate tether. And when they pulled apart, Elena rested her forehead against Mia's. We strike first, she whispered. Tonight. Together? Always. The plan was simple. Make it look like a celebration. Call a gathering of the council. Announce the official defeat of Mikhail's network. Toast to the future. And then, when the moment was right, reveal the betrayal. Elena dressed in black. Mia, beside her, in deep crimson. They entered the room like fire and blood. The traitors were there, smiling, drinking, toasting. Elena raised a glass. To loyalty, she said. And to the ones who pretend to have it. Silence fell like glass shattering. We have something to show you, Mia said, stepping forward. She pressed a button. The screen behind them lit up. Audio. A voice, one of the councilmen, speaking to Mikhail, promising Elena's seat in exchange for territory. Another voice. Another betrayal. Gasps. Curses. Guns drawn. But Elena was faster. Put them down, she ordered. They obeyed. Mia stepped beside her. You wanted to cut the rod out. Here it is. Elena looked at the traitors. You have 5 seconds. 2 dropped to their knees. The third ran.
Shot.
Not by Elena. By Mia. The room went still. Elena turned slowly. He raised his gun, Mia said. I didn't hesitate. Elena stared at her like she was seeing her for the first time. Not soft. Not breakable. But forged. The room slowly returned to normal. The council stood in silence. Elena raised her glass again. To the future. They toasted. But Elena couldn't take her eyes off Mia. Later, in the quiet of their room, Elena sat on the bed while Mia washed her hands. The blood hadn't been much, but it didn't come off easy. I've changed you, Elena said softly. Mia turned.
No.
You made me see who I could be. You killed someone. To save you. And how do you feel? Mia hesitated. Steady. Elena stood. Crossed the room. You're not the girl I met that night. Neither are you. Elena touched her face. I don't know what happens next. Then we make it up as we go. Together? Always. The next morning, the fortress felt too quiet. Not in the way it had before, waiting, tense, but like something had already happened and no one had noticed yet. Mia sat at the table in the inner chamber, fingers wrapped around a coffee cup gone cold, her eyes fixed on nothing. The taste of the night before still clung to her mouth, to her skin. Not just the intimacy, but the way Elena had looked at her afterward, like she was proud and terrified all at once. The shot Mia had fired echoed even now, not in guilt, but in clarity. She hadn't hesitated. She hadn't broken. And that frightened her more than the kill itself. Elena entered the room quietly, dressed in dark gray, her hair pulled back in the sharp, clean style that meant she was preparing for something unpleasant. They're calling a justice, she said without preamble. The council is spinning your shot as a defense move. They're rallying behind me again. You saved more than my life last night. Mia didn't speak. She just nodded. Elena walked over and sat beside her. You haven't said a word. I'm still processing. Are you angry with me?
No.
Just realigning. With what? With myself. Elena reached for her hand. Tell me what's going on in that head of yours. Mia looked down at their intertwined fingers. I'm changing, Elena. Faster than I thought I could. Faster than I wanted to. You regret it?
No.
But I wonder what I'm becoming. You're becoming mine. Mia looked at her then, and her eyes were clearer than Elena had ever seen them. That's the only part I'm sure of. They kissed, slow, lingering, full of things neither of them could say out loud. But just as Mia closed her eyes, a sharp knock shattered the calm. Dmitri entered, face grim. "We have a problem." Elena stood instantly. "What kind?" "Internal. There's been a breach in our accounts. Someone moved a large sum out of the offshore reserve last night." "Who had access?" "Only 5 people, including me and you." Elena's jaw tightened. "And it was Ria." The name dropped like a blade. Mia blinked. "Who's Ria?" Elena didn't speak. Dmitri did. Her second in command. Old friend. Old flame. Elena shot him a look but didn't deny it. Mia's stomach twisted. "She betrayed you?" "Not possible," Elena said. "She's loyal." "She stole millions," Dmitri said, "and disappeared." Mia stood. "Why didn't you tell me about her?" Elena hesitated. "Because it was before. Years ago. And it ended." "Did she end it? Or did you?" "I did."
Why?
"Because I saw what love could turn into if left unchecked. Ria taught me that." "And now?" Elena looked at her, jaw tight. "Now I see what love can become if you don't run from it." Dmitri cleared his throat. "There's more. She left a message." He handed Elena a device. She pressed play. Ria's voice filled the room, smooth, venomous, almost amused. "You were never meant to stay soft, Elena. But you let someone in. And now you'll lose everything. You're welcome." Elena crushed the device in her hand. "Find her." "Already trying. Use everything." Dmitri nodded and left. Mia stood still, arms crossed, a storm brewing in her chest. "So she's doing this because of me?" "No," Elena said, voice sharp. "She's doing this because of me. Because I stopped choosing control over connection. Because I chose you. Then we fix it. Together." "You don't understand, Mia. Ria isn't like Mikhail. She knows how I think. How I react. She'll come at me sideways. Then we look sideways." Elena almost smiled. "You really don't give up, do you?" "Not on you." That night, the fortress locked down. Elena doubled the guards. Triple-checked the security system. But she knew it was a matter of time. Ria didn't leave trails unless she wanted to. And if she wanted Elena's attention, she had it. Around midnight, Mia stood on the balcony, looking out over the city. Elena came to her side, wrapped an arm around her waist. "Do you think we'll survive this?" Mia asked softly. "Yes." "You don't sound sure." "Because I'm not. I don't need promises, Elena. I need honesty." Elena kissed her shoulder. "Then here it is. I'm scared. Not of dying. Of failing you." Mia turned to her. "You haven't. You won't. What if I already have? What if bringing you into this has already cost too much? Then we pay the price. Together." "You say that like it's simple." "It is. You either choose love or you don't. And if love gets you killed, then I die loving you." Elena stared at her. "You're not who I thought you were. Neither are you." They kissed again, but it was different, slower, softer, like they were both memorizing the shape of each other's mouths in case they didn't make it to the end. The next day, the breach became a wound. One of Elena's key safe houses was hit. 3 dead. Files stolen. Ria was cleaning out everything she'd helped build. "She's dismantling me from the inside," Elena said, pacing. "She's not trying to kill me. She's trying to erase me." Mia stood in the doorway. "Then we don't let her." "It's not that easy." "Nothing ever is." "Mia, stop telling me I can't help. I'm not going anywhere." "I don't want to lose you." "Then fight for me." Elena stopped pacing. Looked at her. "I already am." "Then let me fight back."
How?
Mia held up a keycard. "She gave me one of these. Before. When she still thought I was just background noise." "You talked to her?"
Once.
"Weeks ago. When I didn't know who she was. She wanted to meet me. To see what kind of girl could tame the queen." Elena's jaw clenched. "She underestimated you. So let me use that. Let me be the weakness she expects." "No, Elena, No, she won't kill me. Not at first. She wants to hurt you. That means she'll talk. Mia, let me be bait. Absolutely not. Then let her win. Elena grabbed her by the arms. Don't you dare. Then give me another way. Silence. Then, I'll go with you. If you're bait, we do it together. Mia nodded.
Deal.
And just like that, the trap was set. Rhea would come, because she never let go of what she thought belonged to her. And now Mia wasn't just Elena's heart. She was Elena's edge. The one thing Rhea didn't see coming. The war had always been about power. Now it was about possession. And neither of them was willing to be taken. The warehouse was quiet when they arrived. Not abandoned. No place in Elena's world was ever truly abandoned, but still in that eerie, expectant way that made every shadow feel like it was breathing. Mia stepped out of the car first, her fingers clenched around the keycard Rhea had given her weeks ago, when she'd still been testing the edges of Elena's life, still believing Mia could be manipulated, controlled, maybe even turned. She had no idea. Elena followed close behind, her gun holstered, body stiff with calculation and rage, the kind of fury that didn't scream. It simmered. Dmitri stayed behind in the second car, per Elena's orders. This was personal. No backup. No army. No noise. Just them. Mia led the way, her memory guiding them through the side entrance, the locked hallway, the old elevator shaft Rhea had shown her as a shortcut, back when her smile had been deceptively warm. Every step felt like walking deeper into a story she never meant to live, yet couldn't imagine leaving now. She'll be watching, Elena whispered as the elevator stopped. She wants to see her face when she takes me apart. She won't.
Mia.
I'm not afraid of her. You should be. I used to be. Elena looked at her, eyes glassy and dark. Don't do anything reckless. What's reckless is loving you and thinking that doesn't come with risk. The elevator doors opened to a massive, empty chamber. Or it looked empty. Until the lights flickered on. And Rhea stepped into view. She wore black, tailored, elegant in that cruel way only women like her could manage, her hair pulled back in a severe knot, her lips curved in amusement that didn't reach her eyes. You brought her, Rhea said, tilting her head. Of course you did. You wanted her, Elena replied. Here she is. She's not what I wanted. I just wanted to see what could make you forget who you are. I haven't forgotten, Elena said. I've evolved. Is that what you call this weakness? You mistook control for power. That's why you're standing alone. Rhea stepped forward. I built this with you. And now you're tearing it down because you couldn't have me. No, Rhea said softly. I'm tearing it down because you stopped being worth it. Mia's voice cut through. You lied to me. Rhea turned to her, eyebrows raised. Did I? You smiled at me. You played kind. But it was all strategy. Sweetheart, Rhea said with a grin. Everything is strategy. Mia stepped closer. Elena moved with her, a silent shield. I'm not afraid of you anymore, Mia said. Then you're a fool.
No.
I'm in love. That's different. Love doesn't survive in this world. Then this world needs to change. You think you can change her? Rhea's voice sharpened. She kills people with a blink. She built her throne on bones. I know, Mia said. And I love her anyway. Elena's breath caught. Rhea stared at them, her smile cracking. You really believe that? I don't believe it, Mia said. I know it. Then watch her choose, Rhea whispered, and pulled a gun from behind her back. Rhea. Elena barked. You really think I came here without a backup plan? Rhea asked. I knew you'd bring her. So here's the deal. You kill her. Or I kill you both. Elena didn't move. You won't kill me. Try me. You won't, Elena repeated. Because you already lost. The second you touched her name, you lost everything. I had you first, Rhea hissed. But you never had my heart. You're shaking, Rhea said, aiming at Mia now. Look at you. Shaking for her. Elena raised her gun. Last chance. I won't miss. Neither will I. They stood there, 3 points in a triangle of destruction. Mia didn't breathe. Then everything happened at once. A gunshot. One. Echoing like thunder. Rhea dropped. Mia didn't move. Elena stood over her, smoking gun in hand, her face blank, eyes unreadable. Rhea gasped once, blood pooling at her lips. She made you weak, she whispered. Elena knelt beside her.
No.
She made me strong enough to finally end you. Rhea's eyes closed. Elena stood slowly, breathing hard. Mia couldn't speak. She stared at Elena, her ears still ringing. You killed her, she said finally. She would have killed you. I know. Elena walked to her, took Mia's face in her hands. I couldn't let her touch you. I didn't ask you to protect me. But I will. Always. Mia swallowed, voice tight. So this is who we are now. We're what we have to be to survive. And when survival isn't enough, then we fight to live. Even if we become monsters? Elena's hands dropped. We were monsters long before we met. But maybe loving each other is what keeps us from being lost completely. Sirens in the distance. Back up. Dimitri. Clean up. It didn't matter. All that mattered was the look in Mia's eyes, uncertain, haunted, but still full of the same fire that had pulled Elena in from the first night. We walk out of here together, Elena said. And then we decide who we want to be. They walked out, hand in hand, blood on their boots, silence thick around them. But between their fingers, a pulse. Still beating. Still theirs. The cleanup took days. Rhea's death sent ripples through the criminal underworld, louder than any declaration Elena could have made. It was a final, irreversible line in the sand. Elena Volkov had chosen her side, and she'd chosen it with blood. Some factions fell back, others tested the boundaries, but none dared make a direct move. Not yet. The council remained quiet. Those who had once whispered behind Elena's back now spoke carefully, watching her every move, measuring her stability and Mia's presence with new eyes. They didn't question her again, but they watched. Always watching. Elena didn't care. Not anymore. What mattered now was the woman who stood beside her in the silence, the one who hadn't run when the empire cracked, when blood spilled, when choices were made that couldn't be undone.
Mia.
Mia, who had never belonged in this world but had claimed her place in it anyway, not with violence, but with fire, with loyalty, with a love that didn't ask for safety, only truth. In the days that followed, Elena didn't return to business as usual. She handed off operations. She sent Dimitri to handle external meetings. She refused calls. And instead, she took Mia north. Not to hide.
To breathe.
A black SUV pulled them into the edge of the mountains, into a secluded cabin Elena had never shown anyone before. No guards. No cameras. No weapons hidden under floorboards. Just wood, stone, snow, and quiet. When Mia stepped inside, she turned to Elena with wide eyes. This is real. Elena nodded. My father brought me here once. Said if the city ever tried to swallow me, I should remember this place existed. Mia walked to the fireplace, running her hand over the mantel. You kept it untouched. Because I wasn't ready to let go of the version of myself that might one day need it. And now. Elena crossed the room, stopping just behind her. Now I want to remember what it feels like to exist without having to prove anything. Mia turned to her. Then prove something to me. Elena's jaw tightened. Anything. Tell me what comes next. Elena hesitated. Then, whatever you want. And what if I don't want the empire? Then I'll burn it down. And if I want peace? I'll build it for you. And if I want both? Elena smiled. Then we'll learn how to hold fire in one hand and calm in the other. Mia cupped her face. That's what I want. Not to escape, but to choose. Every day.
You. This.
Us. I choose you, Elena said, voice breaking. I'll keep choosing you, even when the world forgets what love looks like. That night, the snow fell heavy. They undressed each other in front of the fire. No urgency this time. No fear, just reverence. Elena kissed her like it was the first time, and Mia touched her like it would never be the last. When they lay together, skin to skin, breath to breath, they didn't speak. There was nothing left to say that hadn't already been written into the scars they shared, into the way their hands sought each other in the dark. They slept. For the first time, in what felt like lifetimes, truly, deeply, without the weight of the city pressing in from every wall. Morning came with sun and frost and silence. Mia rose before Elena, wrapped in a blanket, staring out the wide window as the snow glittered over the trees. Elena joined her minutes later, slipping her arms around her waist. "We can stay as long as you want," she murmured. "But the city's still ours." Mia leaned back against her. "I know. I just needed to remember that we could step out of it. That we weren't built only to survive chaos." "You're not," Elena said. "You're the calm I never thought I could hold. And you're the fire I didn't know I could love." Elena turned her gently. "Marry me." Mia blinked. "What?" "You heard me." "You're serious?"
Deadly.
Mia laughed. Then cried. Then nodded.
Yes.
God, yes. Elena kissed her through the tears, through the laughter, through the promise. The ring came later, a simple gold band she'd hidden in that cabin years ago, before she even knew Mia existed. She'd kept it for no one. Until now. Back in the city weeks later, things resumed. But they were different. Elena didn't reclaim the throne with the same hunger. She delegated more. Trusted carefully. She carved a seat for Mia beside her. Not in the shadows, but in the light. Mia didn't become a queen. She didn't want that title. But she became something else. A legend. The one who loved the queen and changed everything. They never denied what they were to each other. They didn't hide. And in doing so, they built a new